Hi everyone, this is Monica here, and I am going to walk you through the norming for the 4th grade math constructed response for CA1. There are only 2 questions for this constructed response. Number 1 is worth 4 points, and number 2 is worth 3 points. You can see over here the TEKS that are aligned to those questions and also the process TEKS that are aligned to those questions. As you scroll down, you'll notice that the next part on here is the rubric. It tells you exactly what scholars should and should not receive credit for. I'll also show you below right now an exemplar of what that should look like. The first question that's on here is asking scholars to read a word problem and also note that they need to add together the decimals in the word problem. And then finally, for part A, they need to shade in that decimal amount. So you'll notice for part A, it's asking them to shade in the picture that shows how far Holly rode. They'll need to have added together and know that Holly rode 2.5 or 2.5 miles. They received 3 points for part A, 1 point for one entire fraction bar shaded in, a second point for another fraction bar to be shaded in, and then one final point for half or 5/10 of another fraction bar shaded in. For part B, they receive the 4th and final point if they write out the decimal 2.5 miles or 2.50 miles. You'll likely also want to make sure that your scholars have correctly added together the decimals. This is written horizontally, but most likely scholars will write these vertically and add them together. If they are adding incorrectly, this will be a good place for you to note where you might want to do an intervention to help those scholars understand how to correctly add with decimals. Moving on to question 2. This question is different than last year's in order to increase the rigor, kind of having scholars look at a word problem and then have to use expanded form, word form, rounding, instead of it being just a straight question about writing something in word form. This better aligns to STAR also. So they read this question, they kind of can observe this table that's right here. And then the first question asks them to write the number of tons of cabbage grown in the United States and then to write it in words. So they'll need to use the table, grab this number right here, 2,298,700, and then to write it out in words below here. On the rubric, you'll notice that it says not to take away points if they spell incorrectly, but to also use your best judgment. If a scholar writes 9-8, for example, they should probably get the question wrong. But if they write 2 with only 2 T's, O, that's probably okay. You can understand what they meant there. They scroll down to part B. This is asking scholars to take a look at the number of tons grown in Poland and then to subtract 500,000 from that. You'll notice in the problem I underlined the important piece, which is that it's 500,000 less. And so there's a couple ways scholars might do this. Since it says about how many pounds, they may round before they subtract. But they also may subtract and then round their answer. Both of these answers should be counted correctly. One is 1,267,280, but also 1.3 million is also fine to write out like this. You'll receive 1 point for that part of the question. And then for part C, this is a pretty difficult problem. So it'll be a good challenge for some scholars to see, and you can see kind of where they're either making errors or how they decided to solve it, because there's a few ways they may solve it. So it's asking them to consider how much cabbage was grown in South Korea, and then that China produced 7 times as much as that. So the amount grown in South Korea is 3,200,000, and to do 7 times they'll have to multiply by 7, but they may not feel comfortable multiplying by so many zeros, so they may add this several times. They may also round to 3 million to get 3 times 7 to be 21 million. So both of these should be counted as correct. 22,400,000 or 21 million. And again, there may be a few different ways that you see scholars solve this. So if you have any questions, there's a discussion board posted on Blackboard underneath all of the CAs, and you can ask your question there, or feel free to directly email me or your CTL. Thank you so much. Have a great day.